In this lecture, I want to focus on the actus reus of any of these criminal homicides, whether it's murder or manslaughter, and that's the word homicide. A homicide is a killing of one human being by another. It's either done by an affirmative voluntary act or by the failure to act when it's required by law. This means that prosecution needs to prove that defendant committed a qualifying act, either a voluntary act or an omission that caused the death of the victim. We can see that the word causation is built into the term, killing of one human being by another. The by represents the causal link. It's not enough that we can spot defendant's voluntary act or that we see a dead body lying on the floor. We've got to connect those two items. We've got to determine if defendant's act caused the death of the victim. Think about how a murder is proven in court. It's not enough to say there's been a death. The prosecution has to prove that the victim died from criminal means by the hands of another, has to rule out suicide or natural causes. And then after doing that, the prosecution has to specifically say the victim died by defendant's hands. Take, for example, the following true situation. A young college student goes to the hospital. She claims that she's just delivered a stillbirth. That's a baby who she delivered already dead. And in that state of frenzy, she put the body into a trash can behind a college bar that she frequented. But the doctors and the police and prosecutors are suspicious. They don't think the baby was born dead. They believe that the baby was born alive, and this young, unwed college student had intentionally dumped her live newborn baby in a trash can, and that the baby died inside that trash can. The prosecution charged her with murder. They believe she committed a homicide with a criminal mens rea. The defense says, wait a second, hold on there. To prove murder, you first have to show that she committed a homicide, that she killed that baby, that that baby wasn't born dead, that she killed that baby. Without first proving the actus reus of homicide, there can't be a charge. It would be the same as defense saying, wait a second, you can't charge with burglary if you can't prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant actually entered the victim's home. In the case I described, no matter how many doctors the prosecution produced at hearing after hearing, it could not prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the baby was alive at the time of the birth. After nearly 3 years of motions and wrangling, the prosecution had to drop the murder charge. It couldn't prove the homicide. The young college student pled guilty to child endangerment. Now you might wonder, why was everyone so suspicious? Why did the prosecution charge with murder? After all, maybe it was a stillbirth. Tragedy does strike. There are stillbirths that happen all across the country every year. Here's why. In this case, the prosecution was so suspicious because this same young college student had presented at a hospital only the year before claiming the same thing. 2 stillbirths in a row, that she had buried 2 bodies. Prosecution thought something's terribly wrong here. They thought she was intentionally killing her babies. But it didn't matter. Without proof of the actus reus of homicide, without proof that she had killed her baby, it didn't matter whether there may have been a criminal mens rea. They couldn't prove the charge.